Blessings to everybody out there today. You gotta remember, there's a lot of ungrateful people in this world, especially during these times. You can give your all, and then you can be even explaining to somebody of how you've done this and that, not because you're looking for recognition. It's because sometimes things need to be understood and edified, to the latter, because people are constantly making every attempt possible to try to downplay what you do for them. Not even because you have to do it, but because that's your God-given nature, is to be helpful and to be kind and to be generous and to be thoughtful, putting others before yourself, putting yourself on the line for others. I have put myself on the line for people I have never even laid eyes on. Put myself in complete danger because I hate people who play the role of bully. I hate to see people hurting and in pain. But you gotta be careful during these times, because that very nature, they will try to weaponize that same said nature, rig up a situation, because they sit back and they study everything from afar, because they're too cowardly to do it in your face. They always make sure that you can't get to them, Some of us in this world has really had to defend ourselves with our life on the line, with guns pulled on us and everything else. And God deemed it for us to still be here. Some of us, when it really comes down to it, can really self-defend in an incredible manner. All praises be to the Most High God. Sometimes things are as they are. So you gotta be careful, because these are the type of people, when this digital ID gets rolled out, which is quickly approaching, that's Satan's mark for his people. Like the Most High God, he has his chosen people marked. So it'll be the same way on the other side of the spectrum. Satan's a copycat. That's what he does. If God wasn't great in the manner in which he is, Satan surely wouldn't be copying him. That's a lot of greatness. It will leave you in a constant state of awe. Just thinking about it has me in a state of awe. 'Cause I love the mind. I love education, true education, not indoctrination. But yeah, these people, like all the same type of people who lined up for that jab situation, it'll be the same type of individuals that'll be in the front line when it comes to this digital ID. People who are ungrateful, people who covet the love of money, people who can't ever say thank you or show appreciation, the people who always seem to worry about things that, they shouldn't even be worried about, especially when they claim to love the Most High God. Why are we worrying about things? There's no reason to be worried. Sometimes things get very difficult, very hard, very fast, Sometimes your patience really get tested, And it's just insane. Like people who accept payment to be sitting up here living a complete lie, all to keep tabs on you and what you're doing in your daily activities. That's a sorry life to live. And then people who know you, they try to undermine your level of intelligence all of a sudden when they already know better than most that you are very much up to par in that area. 9 times out of 10, they probably in on it too, or jealous, or something. Because every time they buy something new, they gotta hunt you down, as if doing so places you in a level of jealousy or something. And it's like, no. Like, my combat gear costs more than a lot of, if we're gonna take it there, just that alone. So we all have nice things, but it's nothing to be glorifying at all in the slightest. But I'm saying that to say this, you gotta be careful who you're around. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. There's been a lot of people who's been let into this country that look like us, but they're not us. They've been strategically put in place to undermine, and at the end of it, it's still a fulfillment of prophecy. But if they've been put in for the extravaganza that is quickly approaching. So you just gotta be careful. Gotta be careful who you trust, But under no circumstances can we allow people to make us drop down to their level of thinking, to their level of operation, because we're above that. They know you great. What's understood never needs to be explained. And it ain't because you're great because of anything special on your part. It's because of the Most High God that resides within you. Sometimes, we do get out of character. We're human. We're gonna make mistakes. Well, we're part of mankind. Mistakes will happen. Falling short will happen. But you gotta repent. You gotta ask for forgiveness. And then you gotta move on and strive for that excellence. And not worldly excellence. So, these things are key. Because without them, you'll be in the front of that line under the guise of some would-be pandemic, some would-be boogeyman something that they use to instill fear to make individuals go and get that Satan injection. What a lot of people don't focus on same truck from yesterday, same spot, same revving up the engine and the noise. No reason to do that. No reason at all. But if that individual was outside of that vehicle, they'd be scared. It is what it is. They're scared. You can be alone on foot and take everybody on. It don't matter to you because you got the Most High God in you. They wish they had that kind of strength and power. That's power they'll never achieve. Most of them aren't even human anyway. So it's like it's not even up for discussion. But that's how it is. So these are the type of individuals that, like I said, people are not focusing on that jab. And when you spell it backwards and look it up, it says possession by an evil spirit. Now, do you really honestly think that that's coincidental? No. They understand. And when I say they, the Edomites, like I said, everybody is still here. No one fell off the map and was replaced with a whole new set of races of individuals. No. The people who've been here are still here. The Ishmaelites, they're still here. They're the silent enemy of those who love Christ. We got to know these things. You know, this information changes the entire dynamics. You know, and then 9 times out of 10, the people who are following you around, they don't even fully understand. Because if they did, they wouldn't be engaged in the evilness in which they're engaged upon. But like I was saying, getting that shot, that's possession by an evil spirit. That's why so many people have perished after getting that injection. And then a lot of them, they haven't been themselves ever since. You know, watch the mannerisms. You know, the mannerisms of an individual will tell you everything within seconds. So, you know, they needed to get as many people to take that. That way, once they come with the digital ID, it can complete the process. You gotta think, we're dealing with beings that don't have a body, meaning the demons, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. You know, that's another way how they can so quickly, you know, follow you around in the manner in which they are. You know, because especially when you've taken care of everything governmentally and knowing how to escape and evade and implementing various tactics to keep tracking you to a minimum, then the only other explanation is that, and it's always that, because everything is spiritual. You know, and I be trying the best I know how to bestow upon people this information, because I know a lot of individuals, they don't have this information. Having this information changes everything. You know, we all used to celebrate holidays. We all used to, this time of the year, used to have that spirit of goodness and this, that, and the third. But it's Satan's time of enhanced evil, if you will. You know, this is when you got to go back and do your homework for real and investigate true history, which coincides with biblical history. You know, the Bible is a history book, you know. So these are the individuals that, you know, you got to be careful. Sometimes I lose my cool, you know, because people they're doing everything they can to undermine the process. They're mad because you're not the individual you once was. And even the individual that you was, even just on a worldly perspective, you wasn't even that bad compared to a lot of individuals walking around here. You wasn't that bad. But biblically, yeah, you needed to whip it all the way into shape. And then individuals, they always want to use terms like, well, we're not gonna discuss religion and da-da-da-da-da, and it's not about religion. We're not supposed to have anything to do with religious views. This is about the spiritual aspects thereof. There's no way around it, you know. So to everybody who's got the love of money and that's your only focal point, it's like they are going to be the ones to get that jabby jab, that upcoming jabby jab, you know. Right now they might be acting like that's not what it's going to be, but they will, because they're the ones who's always trying to downplay this word every time it's uttered. They're the ones who's always trying to downplay your progression and your elevation every time in which they see you. You don't even try to reach out to a lot of people anymore, because now you understand what's really been going on since been going on. And then you'll have some that'll still try to insult your intelligence. They'll still try to lie. They'll still try to sit here and act like things are not as they truly are. and they can't manipulate you anymore, and they hate it. So, you know, got to continue to elevate your game in this biblical construct. You got to. You know, all the people that I cheered on and all the individuals that I helped, you know, especially in life and death scenarios, which seem to happen more often than not, you know. Do you think any of them is giving me any words of encouragement as I'm doing my platform? You know. And I've helped men and women out, helped kids out. I've helped some of everybody, strangers, you know. But do you think any of these people that know me personally, which is a whole lot of people, and I used to teach martial arts in the city that I'm from, so I'm known, and I'm known anyway when we get on this biblical kick, because they know who we are. So I'm exceptionally known where I'm from. Everywhere I've been, I'm exceptionally known. Not because I tried to make it that way, because things are as they are. And a child of God cannot blend in or be mixed in society. You will always stand out. That's the truth. I'm a person who knows how to disappear. But do you think I can do that with all this? It's impossible. So, unless the Most High steps in and does what he do best, and that's make things happen, how can we not give all credit and praises to the Most High God? He created everything. The way our bodies operate. Like, come on now, that's some crafty stuff. That's an elaborate mind on a level that you can't even fathom. The way we eat food and how it digests and then how we excrete it out. That's a whole different type of mindset. That's a mindset on a whole nother scale. So these individuals that act like they can't give praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, and once we come into the truth, people that act like they can't discard the things that we've been doing since been doing, these are not the people to be around, because they steadily want to force their views down your gullet, but they don't even want to acknowledge the real. These are dangerous people to be around during these times. Very dangerous. So you got to keep your head held high. You got to keep it elevating in the Most High God in heaven, because that's the only way. You know, that's why they got to implement all these various tactics. They got to use family against you. They can't really use so-called would-be friends against you, because you done pretty much X them all off the list. As far as, you know, you don't even deal with them anymore, because they're still living in major sin. You know, they're still chasing the cares of this life. Those of us who really truly love Christ, it's like we've been going through a private training program since birth to prepare for the times that we're in now and heading into. These individuals who love money and love coveting, you know, do you think they're gonna have what it takes when it's all said and done? You gotta ask yourself that. Time is not of the essence at all. And time is steadily ticking. And people are steadily playing. You know, the people who are so worried about what you got going on, they can't even worry about their own life, because yours is so fascinating. But yeah, no one will ever cheer you on. You know, they don't want you to do good. They don't want you to excel. That's why they've made it to where you can't get a job. That's why they've made it to where you really cannot participate in society like that. And then being that the Most High God sees it all, He is your only way. That's why you don't look like anything of your current situation or the things that you've currently went through prior, you know? Because when God takes care of you, that's the greatest form of care that can ever be extenuated. So, you know. So, stay on course with the Most High God. Get in deep with Him. Because without Him, perishing is imminent. And that's the fact. So, with that being said, bless each and every last one of you. Shalom.